Joel, let's just talk a little bit about some of the names that are out there that are getting floated around as it relates to an AI play. Obviously, as we just said, NVIDIA is kind of always the go-to name, probably
Yeah.
still will be. But what are some of the other areas that people are thinking about?
Yeah, I mean a big theme in 24 has been, kind of the power up America trade. So you're looking at, names, in the energy cycle and names kind of exposed to kind of data center infrastructure and electrical grid kind of place. So you have names like VRT, which we've discussed in the past briefly, GEV. Here's a company that kind of they do small nuclear reactors as well. And you can kind of see like Microsoft announced, some big partnerships over the past few months with nuclear, kind of power plants reviving, 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. So this is a theme where it's not going to slow down, and it's just the reality is the electrical grid, like as it currently is, it just it isn't sustainable for what the power that's needed to kind of keep these trends going. So I think you
Hmm.
want to have exposure in your portfolio to some of the names that I just mentioned. But again, that theme is not going to slow down, and it probably could be a decades long process of kind of infrastructure build out.
No, that's a great point. And it is interesting because even though there's been so much money put towards this already and people don't necessarily know what the returns are going to be, I don't think you've got any large cap company that wants to decrease spending. I think that they're going to continue to
Yeah.
increase capex and they'll actually be rewarded for it. We have to remember that sometimes companies aren't rewarded for capex spending for various reasons.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, as it relates to AI and the build up for tech and energy, you'll get really rewarded.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Yeah, usually in tech we go through periods where people overspend, they get punished, but we are sort of in the complete opposite of that kind of arena right now, where again, like I said earlier, there's more risk to underspending than overspending, and this is also like a national security type of arms
Hmm.
race that's underway as well. So it's not just the Microsofts, the Meta, the Alphabet, stump pouring all these billions and trillions of dollars into this theme. It's also sovereign nations as well that they just can't get left behind, whether it be via regulation, just not investing enough in their just local infrastructure. So again, this is going to be a theme that we continues to kind of evolve over time, and clearly energy is at the forefront of that, and just who's going
Hmm.
to power all this.
Yeah. Hopefully Canada will be able to somehow
Yeah,
help. So anyway, that's a whole other
exactly.
topic.
Yes,
But Joel, let me
yes.
ask you, let me ask you this as well. Interesting to see both Apple and Broadcom up today. I guess they're working on a
Yep.
chip together. But what's the real and right way to look at that? Because I thought that even though you've got all these companies trying to work on chips on their own, they're still always buying the NVIDIA chip. So
Yeah.
does this make sense for Apple?
I mean, I think a lot of these companies are trying to find ways to find a second source for some of their chips. That's always been the case, and so it's not too surprising when you hear these type of headlines. But yeah, whether or not the performance is going to be able to, I mean, NVIDIA has a years long advantage right now over all the other companies. And they continue to invest. They continue to kind of innovate. So Blackwell's ramping for the January quarter as well. So these headlines look good on paper. And I think it's obviously anytime you announce a deal, like for Broadcom, for instance, you announce a deal with Apple, your stock is going to react positively. But like I said, I think Nvidia is
Hmm.
still up 3.5% as well. So
Hmm.
if people actually thought it was a major threat to Nvidia, stock would be down versus 3.5. And I think the move in Broadcom today, a name that I do love,
Hmm.
from a positioning point of view, long only community has been relatively underweight this name as well. So I think that's part of the move you're seeing today in the stock up over 5%. They report tomorrow night. Um, but again,
Hmm.
positioning is increasingly playing a bigger part in just the day-to-day gyrations of the market, and sort of that's kind of what I'm seeing in my seat at least. Just institutions are underweight,
Sure.
a certain name, and you get this type of move on a positive headline.
Right. So if they're underweighted and there's a positive headline, they feel they have to buy it. That's kind of what we're talking about
Exactly.
for people to
Yeah,
understand. Yeah.
yeah. Just to kind of
I'm
increase their exposure. Yeah.
right. I'm curious. With respect to Apple, what's the story there today? I mean, I feel like this is one of those big bellwether companies that people just own and put
Yeah.
away, a bit of a sleeper. But you have to ask yourself: is it a hardware company, which was the criticism going back years ago, and that they'll fall like BlackBerry did, or is it
Yeah.
so much more? I mean, I'm obviously in the latter camp, and the market probably is too,
Yeah.
obviously. But is there a risk, or what's the risk? What do people say if they don't like Apple?
I mean, it's one of those funny, those interesting names being just, on the institutional side of the business and in technology, just long onlys are, it's just perpetually underweight the stock. It's always been too big. So
Oh, still.
you can never be the right size. So people are long onlys are underweight it. Hedge funds are just always viewed as a funding short, especially the long
Huh.
short community, because it's never really gonna blow you up on a headline, right? Very rare you'll see Apple have a 10% move to the
Yeah.
upside,
Wait, Joel, I'm
like
gonna
some other
stop you
name.
there. We'll take a quick
Yep.
break. We'll be right
Okay.
back.